Hey guys, it's been a while since I last did a portfolio update, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to jump over into my account, we're going to look at what positions I have in there, how much, what the allocation's like, and just talk through why that's like it is and what I've been doing recently. And don't forget, if you like this channel, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you like this video, give it one of those thumbs up. What you can see is my overall portfolio value. This is how much I've got invested, 13,000 just over, and the amount that it's worth is currently 17,000. And that's because the portfolio, the positions that I've got are currently performing very, very well. And you'll see that this portfolio is heavily concentrated into two main positions. If you couldn't guess, the whole channel is pretty much about these two main positions, and that is Tesla and Palantir. I am very, very bullish on both of these for the long term. These are positions that I'm looking to hold, for the foreseeable future, maybe 2030, 2035, that sort of region is when I'll start thinking about what I'm doing moving forward, depending on how I am, like what my life is doing at that time, but very much for the long term. I'm not bullish and trading these just for the short term. These are long-term positions. So really, I don't mind if these positions are up and down on a day-to-day basis because I believe that they will move up over time. And that's what you've got to decide with your portfolio. There's obviously the argument that you need to diversify, and I fully buy into that. I do think diversification is really, really a great thing to do in your portfolio, and it helps to remove any potential risk, not completely, but it does help to decrease that risk in your portfolio. Having said that, there's also the argument that if you want to see some really strong growth, then you do kind of need to bet on some companies doing a lot better than the average market. I see both sides of it, right? But for me, what it's come down to is where makes most sense to have my money. And because I am not able to have the largest portfolio, like you can see there's 17 grand in here, which I'm really chuffed at. I only started in 2020, so I'm really chuffed about this. And to a lot of people, this is a lot of money. To others, it's absolutely nothing. Really depends. It's subjective, isn't it? But when you've not got loads and loads of money to invest, you have to sort of make the decision if you want to just put all of that money into perhaps an ETF, an index fund, and call it a day. Nice and simple, nice and easy, very automated process. Great. Or you have the option of picking some maybe ETFs and some stocks, in which case, if you don't have much money, your money is getting spread around in quite a number of different things. And then at that point, you have the risk of, let's just say you have 40 companies. If company number 7 on that list does really well, like really, really well in the next 5 years, but you've not got a massive amount in it, you don't have that many shares because your money's so spread out, you're probably not going to see that impact your return overall very much. And then as well, it comes down to where my money is best spent. And I am spending a lot of time really studying and really learning and staying up to date with Tesla, with Palantir. And because of that, I am getting more and more bullish as time goes on, and I'm understanding the opportunities within those companies for the near distant future, the mid future, and the long term future. With everything that I'm now learning and everything that I know, I always then ask myself, okay, well, where do I want to put the money? Because ultimately we're all here to make money in the stock market, aren't we? We're all here. I want to create generational wealth, and I'm a long way off that. Like, I'm not naive. I know that I'm a long way off that, but that is ultimately what I'm trying to do in the long term. So then I have to say, okay, well, does it make sense just to pick some random companies or put my money into an ETF when actually the companies I have the conviction for are Tesla, are Palantir, are a few others that you'll see in a minute. Let's go back into my portfolio. So the portfolio is doing very, very well at the moment. This particular account was opened in April 2023. So it's not been open all that long. So alongside this account, I have a old Vanguard account. And in that Vanguard account, I have an S&P 500 ETF called VUSA. That for a long time was my second largest holding. So you'll see this portfolio is really concentrated, but I do also have that blanket of different companies that you get in the S&P 500. Quite heavily for me invested into that as well. So right now, I'll just scroll down. You'll see that Tesla here is by far my largest holding. I've got just over 40 shares, and that equates to, with how it's performing at the moment, it's worth about £8.5 thousand. Then my second largest position, Palantir. You can see I have 382 shares of Palantir, and with how it's doing, which is very well at the moment, it changes on the day-to-day basis, but £5,500 worth into Palantir. The third largest holding is Vusa, which is not on this account. And then I have these other holdings here. The next biggest one is Amazon. But when it comes down to where I'm putting my money each time I'm investing, does Palantir take it? Does Tesla take it? Does Amazon take it? How I view that is very much how you can see my allocation here. So let's just jump into my allocation actually. 8 investments in this portfolio. 7 of those are individual stocks. One of those is an ETF, which is VHYL, Vanguard's all-world high dividend yield ETF. So you can see that I've got a bit of a mixture really. I've got 2 massive growth stocks, 3 I guess, that take up most of the portfolio, literally most of it. Tesla is nearly 51%, Palantir is coming in at 32%, and then Amazon at just under 5%. Then I have a ETF, and I have my Vusa as well. Then Alphabet, Unilever, Diageo, and National Grid. So I'm getting a few dividends here and there, and I actually got my dividend for Vusa quite recently, and that just it's left on the account and it will be reinvested into Vusa. The reason that I'm so heavily invested into Tesla and Palantir, like I said, it's an opportunity cost that I've weighed out for myself. It's where my conviction lies. It's where my interests are in researching those companies, and that's really key, isn't it? Because you have to be able, if you're going to invest in individual stocks, this doesn't apply for maybe an index fund or an ETF. If you're going to invest in individual stocks, you have to be willing to do your research and to understand what's happening with the companies, what's currently, upcoming for the companies, where they're going in the future. Because without that insight and without that commitment to the research, you're kind of just like throwing a dart at a dartboard and picking the company that it lands on, So my interests are very much in researching these companies. So it makes sense for them to take up the largest position as long as I'm bullish on them, which I absolutely am. Now, at a fundamental level, there's some overlap here. They are obviously both at the forefront of technology and AI. In different ways, of course. Tesla has their whole EV business, but on top of that, they're looking into full self-driving, which I think we're on the brink of that really taking the next step now. And then robo-taxi fleet, Optimus, they've got their energy sector, they've got Dojo. They are on the forefront of a lot. They've got their hands in a lot of different bags. Palantir, of course, are an AI company, a data company, who are making it possible for organizations and companies around the world to understand and utilize their data better. Now, I've seen a lot of comments about concerns over Palantir and how it means that they are stealing, they are owning other people's data. Can I just say quickly, if that is you and you think that, it's not the case. You don't need to worry about that. Palantir do not steal or own other companies' data. They are simply a tool. They offer their software to companies to allow that company to utilize their own data better. So Palantir aren't the ones getting the data. They are the ones providing a tool, giving it to the company for that company to then use their software to understand their own data better. That is ultimately what they're doing. And what I was trying to say is Palantir are now becoming a necessity rather than a want. Yes, they've still got to sell their software. It's not something that everyone needs. You don't need it. But in terms of having a competitive edge, like it's not water, right? But in terms of having a competitive edge, it is very much a necessity. If a company, a government organization, an enterprise, whatever it may be, wants to be able to stay at the forefront of the competition, they need to be able to work with vast amounts of data. Data is now the language of the world. We are not using filing systems. We're not using paper anymore. It's all data. So much data, and this is only growing exponentially. And it's all well and good being able to store your data, maybe manage your data, but actually being able to take all of the data from all different places, bring it into one centralized place of truth, and then use that data to be able to do really smart things that will grow your business. That's next level, and that's what Palantir are offering them. And there's no real competition for Palantir. Sure, there are other competitors, there are other businesses that are also data companies that allow, their clients to store data, perhaps even manage their data. But what Palantir are offering is really that AI insight. They are able to actually allow companies to play out different situations. They are able to forecast different business choices ahead of time. Like, they are doing things that other companies aren't doing. And if there is another company that I should know about that are a real competitor to Palantir, do let me know in the comments below. And that whole competitive edge is the same for Tesla. I think Tesla have the competitive edge in a lot of different areas. And one thing that I really like with Tesla is how they're building up their own ecosystem and they're bringing everything in-house. That's really powerful for a business. They are not relying on many other companies at all for what they need. And they are always trying to improve. and they are always on the edge of innovation. And just lastly, another thing that I'm thinking about whilst I'm telling you why I'm so bullish on these two companies, like I was saying earlier, they've got their hands in a lot of different buckets. Is that the saying? I don't really know. With Palantir, for example, they have business in lots of different verticals. They have a total addressable market that is absolutely huge because they work with finance, fintech, energy sector. They work with healthcare, like so many different sectors around the world. Their software can be applied to pretty much any organization or business. I don't really know of any that it can't be applied to. That's amazing. And with Tesla as well, obviously they've got their EV business, and EVs are only growing in demand. They're not going, people aren't moving towards internal combustion engines, they're moving towards EVs. So what companies are you going to want your EV from? Still a massive market share to grab there for Tesla. But it doesn't just end there. They're revolutionizing the transport industry with robotaxi. That's massive on its own. And then they've got their bot, they've got their energy sector, and the energy sector is something that I'm really excited to see grow in the earnings that are coming up, how that's playing out. This is the thing, these companies aren't just making one product that is used by, you know, a really niche amount of customers. These are massive. The potential is massive. Anyway, let's go back to my portfolio. Last time I shared my portfolio, and I could be wrong, but I think my invested amount was around 11,000, and that was about a month ago. So I've been pretty, you know, I've been investing pretty heavily. Now there is the argument that with, let's just take Palantir for example, and we'll click on a month view. Phenomenal month. Palantir has been up by, what's that, 13.5% in the last month, this is saying. That's insane growth. And just in the last week alone, it's like 16%. So you could argue that, you know, I should maybe trim some of my profits, take some of my profits and just take it off the table whilst it's doing so well. You can see my average price here. I understand that, but then that would mean having the profits and either waiting for the stock price to dip to put that money back in, or taking that money off the table and actually having that capital to utilize elsewhere. I don't have anywhere else to utilize that capital. I want to either invest my money into the stocks that you see in front of me, mainly Palantir and Tesla at this point, or somewhere else in my life. And again, I don't need that money. It's in this account to grow. So I do see the idea of taking it off the table, but for me, it just doesn't really make sense. And then you could obviously argue that Palantir is maybe overvalued right now, and I shouldn't be dollar cost averaging in, which is kind of what I'm doing. I dollar cost average in, and then I always keep some cash available if there is a dip. I definitely see the argument for Palantir being overvalued because of the run up it's had very recently. It's gone crazy, and you know that's based on a number of different things, but primarily it's trading at a premium because of everything, this really heartbreaking situation that's happening in the world right now. And they do provide defense for governments. We know that they have military contracts and stuff like that. I'm not surprised that it's trading at a bit of a premium, and with the push towards AI in general. So you could argue that that's being put into the stock price right now, and it actually shouldn't be trading at that sort of level. And it's going to be interesting to see the earnings for both Tesla and Palantir that will be coming up very shortly. Tesla's earnings are coming up on the 18th of October, so very, very soon. And Palantir, I believe, are in November. So again, pretty soon. A lot of people are telling me that I need to look at SoFi. If you invest into SoFi and you're particularly bullish on that, drop me a comment, let me know exactly why. I will look into it. And also, I do have the idea that at some point I want to open myself up to a company. I don't know which one it's going to be yet, but a company involved in personalized medicine. So we're talking CRISPR, we're talking gene editing, because again, that's another area that I see this S-curve exponential growth, whereby they are revolutionizing an industry as we know it. Personalized medicine hasn't really been the thing up until this point, but I think we're going to see a change soon where editing genes, and I'm not going to get too technical here, my background is in science, so I get very passionate about this, but where editing genes is going to be moving medicine forward. I have at this point no idea which companies are best for that. Again, if you want to leave any suggestions, do so in the comments below. I don't really know, but it's something that's on my mind. I'm looking into it slowly, and there's potential that I will open a new position in a company that does give me that exposure, or an index fund, an ETF, whatever, that gives me that exposure in the near distant future. For those of you in the UK that's wondering where I'm sitting with my ISA utilization, I'm currently at, here we go, you can see it here, 34%. I want to hit 60 by April, at least 60. And I've got some free funds here as well that, like I said, sit there ready for investing, which I will deploy into this account. I'm not going to leave it in cash for too long. Let me know how your portfolio is doing in the comments below. If you want to give this video a like, please do. Share it with someone. That would be amazing. And if you really want to help me out, subscribe to the channel so we can push more people to see these videos that may be interested and may be inspired to start investing and building their financial future.